Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and today we're looking at a playing card oracle deck. Now, this deck is called Playing Card Oracles Divination Deck. This is by Anna Cortez with the artwork by C.J. Freeman. So you can see it right here. Now, I have seen this deck out and about for a while. I've had it on my list, kind of my wish listy kind of thing, but at the time that I saw it, which was, I don't know, over a year ago or so, I'm sorry, I'm going to light a candle real quick because these smell fantastic, and I don't know, I wasn't even thinking about it, I just did it. I saw it sitting up here, and I thought, I want to light that because it smells fantastic like strawberries. Anyway, the time that I saw this which was, I want to say over a year or so ago. Let's see when this was published, 2012, so it could have been over a year ago. I was really renewing my reading with playing cards. And this does not follow the traditional playing card divination, sort of the traditional meanings for playing cards. So I didn't want that to, at the time, be confusing because it was its own system, and I didn't really want to, at the time, kind of confuse the playing card studying that I was doing. But I recently, Bart, just Sunday or the other day, Bart sent me the link to this. But sent that there was a link to another version of this because this is the first version, but there's another version called the alchemical version of this, and I don't like it. I like this one much more than the second one, and so I had this panic like, oh no, and I've seen that one around because there are a couple different comparison videos. I'll try to find one at least to link in the description box below so you can compare the two of them out. There's a couple out there, and I'd seen them before, and I always thought, oh, I really like the first one better, and I just had a moment of panic where I thought, oh, are they just going to, you know, once these sell out, they'll just be staying with the secondary version, and it's a relatively cheap deck, so I just went ahead and got it, and I just got the cards. I didn't buy the deck, so it just comes like this in a deck of cards. But then I did get the, on her website, you can get a PDF of the book for $6.99. So I went ahead and got that because it is, again, its own system. I thought that would be good to have. So once I wanted to have a look at the cards and see what I thought. I really liked what I saw with the cards, so I went ahead and got the book. So you can see here I have it split because the way that the little guidebook goes and things, it kind of processes as its way through, you know, aces and twos and threes. So I've kind of put them in that order. So they're just a standard. They're really not that great of quality. I mean, they're kind of cardboardy feeling, but I haven't had time to have a good shuffle on them. But it's just kind of pretty standard playing card. Nothing special, nothing to write home about. Here are the backs. They're not reversible just because of the way that the artwork is, but I don't do reverses in any system unless it's specifically built into the system, and I don't think this one is particularly. I find most systems, if it's a well done system, like just playing straight up playing cards, or like Lenormand, which doesn't traditionally use reversals, and for me even tarot, I think if the system is well balanced, I don't need to have the reversals thrown in. Now I am waiting on a deck called the Deste deck, which is a Greek oracle system that's similar to Lenormand, but lots of other extras in there as well. That's in Greek and Turkish, but it does very specifically use reversals, and so I probably will with that one use it because it's really built into the system. This doesn't seem to be so the back's not being reversible doesn't seem to really matter. Then of course we have the, you know, little card here. This is talking about how this system was created by the combined talents of father-daughter team Anna Cortez and C.J. Freeman, sharing a lifelong passion for prophecy and the divinatory arts. Both have felt strongly guided in their work together. Anna Cortez is a self-taught student of the mystic arts. She teaches and gives readings in Boulder, Colorado. La la la. She works extensively with dreams. Charles Freeman lived and worked in Denver. He was a self-taught illustrative artist with an abiding interest in metaphysics. The 30-year process of creating the gallery of artwork for the playing card oracles began with a kind of visual channeling and a scribble drawing that were later refined as detailed and colorized line drawings. And it does talk about how playing cards have long held clues to the mysteries of ancient oracles, and this exquisitely designed deck taps into those divinatory secrets and provides a unique method of card reading. Each card is an original work of art, integrating powerful archetypes and symbols. And then we have obviously a guidebook and then a further larger guidebook as well. Box is just a typical tuck box, you know, again, nice and solid. I do like that it's a very solid feeling construction, but nothing, you know, nothing to write home about. It does come with a little white book that gives you the overview of things. So here's an introduction in very tiny script. We have the suits, and the suits aren't the way that I particularly see them, but we have diamonds as the element of fire. Key concepts are prosperity, creativity, self-confidence, transformation, and spiritual growth. We have clubs as the element of air. Key concepts, ideas, thinkings, dreams, communication, and detachment. Hearts as water, emotions, love as we would expect. Spades, earth, labor, career, housing, physical body, discipline, and responsibility. And then it goes into each of the cards with an explanation of the card. And then we have a couple different spreads that are in the back and some ways that this deck is meant to be read. So I think, you know, that's probably good to get you started, but because it's a different system, I did think getting the actual guidebook would probably be important. And she does go into some calendar correspondences. So there's 52 cards, 52 weeks in a year, 4 suits, 4 seasons, 13 cards in each suit, 13 weeks in each cycle, 13 lunar cycles in a year. It goes into even more with days and things. And so it really talks about you're holding a time machine in your hand, which I thought that's pretty cool. Also goes into colors. Now in this deck, we have the colors black, red, and white. So it says, if the playing cards are so special and extraordinary, why aren't they full color? Why is it the same old black, red, and white century after century? In answering this question, we stumble on more subtle mysteries. It says, to the alchemist, the trinity of black, red, and white was the magical color combination that corresponded to the 3 essential phases of spiritual evolution. Black pertained to fermentation and repentance, white to transcendence and pardon, and red to suffering and love. Examples of this color trio appear repeatedly in the literature and the art of religion and myth. Because each card is either black or red, you know, we're talking about the suit numbers obviously here. We have the diamonds and the hearts as red, and the spades and the clubs as black. It does create a binary, the yin and the yang, the yes and the no, the male and the female, you know, the receptive and the active, all those kinds of things. So we have that. It also talks about numbers. I'm sorry, I pulled this to the side so I could read it. It talks about numbers, and then it goes into how you would see each, you know, number. So aces, 1s are for self, 2 is self and other, so there's a partnership that happens. 3 is a manifestation, so then we have creativity, creation, you know, moving into 3. 4 is foundational. 5 is a crossroads. 6 is harmony. This stays pretty, you know, standard to what I understand numerology. 7 is a challenge, but it's also a growth here, and it does have positive and negative expressions. 8 is a fortification, so even for 4 you have rigidity, so foundation can become rigidity or even stagnation, as we see in tarot. 8 as fortification, 9 as the final challenge. Now, traditionally with numerology, you have 1 through 9 as your primary numbers. Now, we obviously have up till 10 in a tarot deck, but it does go into, with this deck, 10, 11, 12, and 13 are the court cards, which I'm sure that it's going to get into. So then we go into more explanation of the suits, and quite a good explanation of the different suits here, which I won't go into too in depth at this moment, but it does quite go into it. And it has first, here for spades, the magical name is Terra, the element is earth, direction is north, season is winter, phase of life is old age and death, principal body parts feet, compatible suit is heart, key concepts is labor, career, housing, the physical body, discipline, and responsibility. So I quite like, there's a lot just in that, and then it goes into the expression, more detail about the actual suits there. And then it goes into the actual oracle. So here, and it's quite lovely, hopefully you can see this, but we have, here's the first card. We see that it's the Ace of Heart, or diamonds, I'm sorry. Oh, you're not going to see well, that's there. It makes the light all wonky. So here we have the Ace of Diamonds. I'm going to zoom in on these in a minute. I just want to show you, though, we have the name, because these actually have names. We have, a couple paragraphs here about the card. We have some key meanings. We have a representation of the card, which we can zoom in on if you have the digital format. And then it has a story about this particular card. And then it goes on to the next one. So that's pretty neat. I do think she did a great job with this particular guidebook. So let me zoom in here. So she talks about the aces as being the lowest numbered card, that this can sometimes be low and it can sometimes be high, which is why we use ace instead of the number 1, which is interesting to have that put in there. But she talks about how aces are like storehouses or energy sources for the particular suit. Nearby cards within a spread can plug into and draw from an ace, but only if the individual exercises that choice. For example, a Queen of Hearts next to an Ace of Hearts would be an incredible combination, whereby the Queen personality could tap into the resource of the heart energy contained within the Ace, magnifying her own vibration. The closer in proximity a given card is to an ace, the more it can access its power. So that's quite interesting there, right? Aces represent the character of their respective suit in the most pure and complete way. They symbolize the most primal, fundamental force. Accordingly, you will find the magical names of the suits pictured on the aces so we have, these are their magical names. So here, I'm going to read the first one, the whole part of it, of just this first page, not the story, just so that you can get a feel for it as always. When looking at this card, notice how the large red diamond in the center looks more like a gem than a traditional suit sign. If you examine it closely, you will see a figure silhouette within its core. The story that follows illuminates the symbolism of this ace. In it, the stone of the Philosophicus, that's what it says, is depicted as holding the secrets of the element fire. Like the volcano that fashioned the stone, the Ace of Diamond contains an incredible and dynamic potential. As with all aces, its power can be tapped into for use in our lives if that choice is exercised. The gifts awaiting here include the creative ability to will our dreams into reality, as well as attract money and resources. In the story, King Diamantus serves as a wonderful example of what not to do with the powers of this ace. Remember, fire is an element that consumes. It is difficult to satisfy. Handled carelessly, the inner fire can grow in to become greed, egotism, and insensitivity. That is why the precious powers encapsulated within the stone are shown carefully guarded by a fearsome dragon, the archetypal protector of treasure. Draw from this ace, illuminate and energize your world. Beware the hunger of its fire. And then it has here potentials for financial gain or creative endeavors, a strong sense of self and a person's own individuality or the ego, the will to do, to achieve, spiritual values and transformation, or an engagement ring or a diamond. So you can see here there's a story here that goes through and gives us this whole story about what happened with the Ace of Diamonds. And then it moves on to the next ace, which is the Ace of Clubs. The ace is pictured as the club itself, wearing the cloak of a simple yet awesome moth of the imagination. The name on the card reads Ethra, the magical name for air. But why the symbolism of a moth? A moth is a being who lives between imagination and reality, a creature nearly as light as the air in which it lives. So this is the air element. And you can kind of tell, ignita, fire, Ethra, air. He represents another world invisibly existing alongside our visible world of stone and mortar. Ether is an energy and intelligence present within the air we breathe. It's in everything, connecting us all, penetrating all, born on the wings of breath, thought, and ideas. Potential for communication, speaking, writing, dreams or wishes, the power of the mind, the power of believing, that which is unseen, unmanifest, premonition, and prophecy. We can see the caterpillar here that has grown into the moth that is also here with this face in this club. This also kind of gives you the idea, and then there's a story about the, let's see, there's a club about the club Ace, which all talks about Morphus, the fabled city of the clubs, was a wondrous hilltop metropolis that flickered like a star, and it goes on here. And then talk about how, again, the descendants of this original area. So it's quite interesting, I have to say. Here we have the Ace of Hearts, which is on here, Agana. Which we have a raptor, a striking symbol of obvious significance. It is said that the heart is a lonely hunter, and like this bird of prey, the heart must often seek out those things that fulfill its basic needs. It is a creature of desire, thirsting for and devouring affection, nesting where it finds love. It talks about it corresponding with water, agana, in the sense of inner water or our feeling life. Deep unexpressed feeling, emotions operating on a subconscious level, potential for love, the lonely solitary heart, and desire. So there we have that. We have, there's not a story for that one, so I guess there's only stories for some. This one is Terra Incognita. Let's make sure I can see this. This card has long been referred to as the Papa Ace or the Death Ace, and has become a source of superstitious fear for many. It seems even the casual card player senses the mystical power expressed by the Ace of Spades. This is the Terra Incognita, meaning hidden earth. It is the form beneath the form, the skull beneath the skin, the truth concealed by the mask. The earthly form of all things will eventually pass, but along with this passing lies a potential for recreation. Something concealed or secrets, change, a threshold, death, and a potential for recreation. You can see the dragons here. And then that covers all of our aces. So now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here. Let's go ahead and go on. We can see the choose here. So it does again talks about the twos. We're going to grow, talk some more about the twos. And then we've got here a rivalry or a competition for attention or recognition, which is interesting. I don't necessarily see a rivalry between these two. Here we go. The prowling knight is personified as a young female perched on a bed of the sky, ready to take her turn as ruler of the heavens. Sun, moon, light, dark, age, youth, earth, sky, may. Oh, I see. The bald, old-headed man here is the sun, sinking into his bed of the earth as the last moments of daylight give way to the approaching darkness. The moon is this woman here, ready to take up her ruler as the sky. So we have that dichotomy of sun and moon, light and dark, age and youth, earth and sky, male and female. And so there is a struggle between those two things that is going on. Okay, got it. Gotcha. Here then we have the friends, a solitary figure representing for something called the friends, which is interesting. It says a geometric pattern known as conjunctio appears in the formation of the twinkling stars here, which is also a figure associated with connection. Quiet and solitude allow inner knowing to rise, which is interesting. Relationships based on the two of clubs possess a separateness. So there is a peace and a remoteness, a like-minded friendship, and then a curious mental attraction. So it's interesting, though, in a card about friendship that we have much more of a solitary feel. Here we have the lovers. And here clearly we have lovers. They're bound together. Bond of love. Now they have them, kind of showing them tied together. It says the nakedness here is not about physical nudity, but emotional nudity and emotionally intensity. There's no masks. Everything, our fears and our vulnerabilities are brought to the surface in a relationship. Do not try to limit it to male and female lover. There's many heartfelt entanglements of many kinds. Lovers, heartfelt relationships, to feel vulnerable and exposed, and a bond of love and marriage. And then here we have the enemies. So we, of course, have friends, relationships, rivalry, and enemies in the two. Opposition, division, inability to find resolution, inner turmoil, these kinds of things. So these are two energies that are equally pitted against each other. And they almost look as if they're related in a way. But I think that's quite, I think that these really do, especially once I figured out what was going on here, I think this really does express on what's happening in the twos quite beautifully. So then when we move on to the threes, things are in flux. There is a seeking of stability. There's a movement that's going on with the threes. And so here we have the necklace. This is about talent and inspiration, things taking shape, a string of events, like 3 is a charm it talks about. It's interesting. It's an alignment of energies that are lining up that are going to move towards the stability of the 4s. It's really a great guidebook. I'm quite interested to sit down and read the whole thing. Here we have the 1, 2, 3 of clubs, which is called the wish. This is it signals an opportunity to set the course of things yet to be, along with a warning to guard closely the direction of your thoughts. The power of the mind. You can see here's his little eyes here. This is all going on up in his head. Thinking things over, considering options, mental clarity, a warning to guard your thoughts by it's put into this bubble here, or this glass here. Here we have the 3 of hearts, which is I have to say I can't even read what that is, but it looks like it says the clutch. Okay, let's see if we can see it better in, yes, the clutch. This is a difficult number with hearts because it means that there is a choice or a decision to be made. We can see this kind of keyhole here, and there's 3 here. Or there's some drama that's going on. There's playing both sides of the fence. There's indecision that's happening. 3 connected hearts. We do have a broken heart down here where there is possible there could be some affair or jealousy or this kind of thing. But this is in a relationship, we want things to be stable, and 3 is a moving number. And so in this particular one, maybe not be moving into where we want it to move towards. And then we have the 3 of spades, which is the grave. So like a traditional playing card reading, the spades definitely are hard. This is quite a lovely picture, though. They're quite hard. A time to let go, a burial, a past that no longer serves, or even a burden that's being carried. So there we have the 3s. In the 4s, we have the winds that are going on here. So this, which is interesting because 4 is a stabilizing number, but then we have winds here. This is the 4, but it's more about the actual directions. So the 4 directions of the compass guide us on our way through space, and the seasonal cycle of the 4 tells us that we are in where we are in time. And it says not to forget that the playing deck too has its basis in 4, the diamonds, clubs, hearts, and spades. Each of the winds hold its own temperament or mood. The suit signs on each of these cards can be seen as fence posts outlining a playing field where events unfold. So here we have the south wind, which can be disturbances, confusion, a sense of humor, or the direction south. This is a bit of a naughty bluster, a little mischievous type of wind that's going on here. Well, I guess I should leave that. Then we have the east wind, which is slow and deliberate. The east wind was the wind that Zeus would hardly ever call on because its forces were slower than the other winds. So the mood is right for contemplation. Remember, this is air sign. Contemplation here. Thoughtful preparation. Things shouldn't be hasty here in this wind. I'm tempted to take like a fine black marker and put the elements on the corners of these cards simply because they are different than how I see them. So that's possibly something that I will do here. I'll just put in the element signs on the corner because that would make more sense. Here we have the hearts, which is the west wind. This is the mood of harmony. This is compassion and warmth, spring breezes that are going on here, which is funny with the Wicked Witch of the East and the West get kind of not working out here. And then here we have the north wind, which is a strong force. Originating in cold, harsh lands, this wind blows raw and unsettling power. So that's what we have in the winds. I really do like the images on this deck. Here we have the 5s. And we start with the Petalars Ace, which is interesting. Centuries ago, the 5 of diamonds was referred to as the Petalars Ace, and it signals a caution and a warning to think clearly before entering into deals or transactions. Caution in finances, there could be some confusion, scattered finances, scattered energy. It's a 5. We have the wind cape here, a mind that's going in every direction, loss of memory, confusion. Again, it's a disruptive number in the mind. Here we have, and it has a story to this called the Wind Cloak, which I will be reading. It's quite a little bit longer one. Here we have Theta Morgana. The words Theta Morgana came from the Arthurian tales and literally means the spell of Morgana. She is the queen of spades herself, which is obviously, I wonder if I think she actually shows up as, yeah, Morgana is the queen in the spades. A casual glance in the direction of this enchant is poised in the lake would cause many hearts to flutter, but take a second look, more careful look, to behold the reflection of a hag. So if you can see, be careful what you see, because it may just be an illusion. An illusion, a fantasy, an allure or attraction, an emotion that lacks depth. What is really in the depths is not what we're seeing on the surface. Again, 5. The number 5 here with spades, we have the circle of crows. And this is a sense of being trapped or ganged up on. We've got a kind of a murder of crows, right? But it is a crossroads card, which we can see with the branches off here. So this is often to do about work or housing or a physical sense here. This is an earth card. But we have constriction, feeling like you're a victim with the skull here. So then we move on to the 6s. And the 6s are generally about a balance of harmony again. Here we have the Tower. So this is a vantage point. This is a sense of being secure, a bank, these kinds of things. Of course, it can go too far into prison or something like that. But this is more of a sense of being able to see from a vantage point, or things being safely put in the tower. For the air, which would be the clubs, we have a bridge. So this is moving onward to a new place, a new perspective, kind of similar but in a different way. This is in our mind, finding peace of mind from the chaos of the 5. In here, we have the castle that's back here. It's home. It's emotional harmony. It's a place of the heart. We have harmonized from the disharmony of the 5s. And then, of course, the poor spades get a ruin. So this is a past that is lingering, something that's been neglected. This is a hibernation or a rest in the winter period in the spades. Now, with the 7s, we have swords here, right? So this is the mystical traditions attributed to the number 7 have great spiritual significance. We can see the continuation of the pathway outlined by the 6s, but with a stone in the road, so to speak, it talks about. So these are all represented by swords, which are implements well suited for challenge. A sword calls forth our greatest resource, our greatest powers of focus and responsibility. So it says, as these cards appear in a reading, the inner world is under examination. So here we have the sword of truth, the truth, living rightly or living truth, teaching, illumination, a call for prudence and wisdom. We have the sword of enchantment, the power of a thought affecting reality, magic, enchantment, these kinds of things that happen with the mind being a powerful tool. Here we have the sword of healing, the power of healing, forgiveness, a surgeon's blade that cuts, but it also heals as it cuts. And then we have the sword of destruction, of course, with the poor spades. The ability to cut off or let go of those things that do not serve, the need to exercise control and discipline, the power to do harm and destruction. And here we can see, let's see, truth. Here we see healing on it. We see destruction. And then this actually says enchantment here as well. So that's the 6s, or 7s, I'm sorry. And then we move to the 8s. And the 8s, you have a tightly knit formation. This also follows 7. It's the outcropping of the challenge faced by the cards of the swords. In the 8, we're living with the results of the challenge from the 7s. And so here we have the house of good fortune. So good things have come, success, prosperity, good timing. In the realm of the mind, we have mental abilities, balance, clarity, peace, justice, minds coming together. In the garden, or in the cup, in the hearts, we have the garden, which is labors of love, loving support. So we have that kind of restabilization of the heart. In the spades, we have the field of stones. So this was always, and it says, going back to Napoleon, the 8 of spades was believed to be a card of ill omen. It was considered the unluckiest cards in the deck. So this is difficult karma, numerous obstacles, bad timing, time running out with the, here we can see the time run out in the hourglass, the need to wait, a threatening group, an army. This is just not a good card. Nobody likes the spades in playing cards. Here we have the 9. So we've passed through the experience of the other cards and we arrive at the 9s, which in playing cards is the beginning of the court cards. So, well, in this deck, because 10s are going to be part of the court in this particular deck. And because, 1 through 9 numerologically is the end of that kind of numerological cycle. So 9 is the last pip in the playing deck, and the trials represented by these cards are in many ways our final trial. Because of the finality these cards represent, 9s will frequently tell of endings in a reading. So a 9 is kind of an ending. It is the last stage. So like for, endings such as divorce and these kinds of things, it's kind of putting out those. We have Gawain, so we have knights here, well, and 2 knights here. So we have Sir Gawain here. He was the knight in shining armor, what we think of as the knight in shining armor, devotion to duty, a helpful person, one who is here and then gone, adventure seeker. This is the promise of another challenge, another thing that's coming up. It's an ending but a new beginning right away. In the clubs, we have Galahad. He was credited with actually finding the Grail. So, and he was idealism, lofty visions, one on a search, a personal sacrifice, purity, these kinds of things. Look at the creepy face coming out of here. Here we have Giles de Ras. It says pronounced Gilles de Rais. Okay. This was in the 15th century. He was a man of tremendous stature and nobility, but his motives became more self-serving as things went around, as things went on. So extremes of behavior, overwhelming compulsiveness, fears and security. Apparently he got very insecure and things got to be swept away by emotions. However, it says a positive expression for this card can be found when one remembers that the vibration of the number 9 is humanitarian. So by taking an active concern for others, you can channel this kind of almost overwhelming emotion into positive things. Here we have the Throne of Spiders. The 9 is heavy duty. Things have gotten out of hand. Energy drain, overworking yourself, bad company, and a need to let go. Something is kind of sucking your blood, your life force. So then we come to the court cards. So apparently, instead of having king, queens, and jacks on the actual cards, which it says that's actually a rather modern rendition for playing cards in the 19th century, and it was added by card makers for the purpose of different games, so that you could kind of spread your cards like this and see in the corners, see what you had there. But traditionally, that wasn't always the case, and that you can see this more, or you can see the close-up of the king and the queen, and these are further back, and then it has the traditional numberings where we have the ladies, the jacks, the queens, and the kings, and so that's how they've kind of gone back to the older style of doing the court cards. So first we have the ladies. They are the first members to approach the card. They fit well into the scheme of the deck. They restore balance to the male and female ratio of the court and provide a natural mate or counterpoint for the jack. So obviously this has been added in because it used to generally just be jacks, queens, and kings. In readings, they can signify not only younger females, but also older females. This could also be a young soul, that kind of thing, much like the pages, I assume. So here we have Tendr. She is the young and alluring female of the diamond suit. This is a woman of financial advantage. She can be willful and tenacious. A youthful, fiery female. She can be clutching. As we can see, she's kind of clutching, looks like the head of somebody. The severed head story. I shall have to read that. When her servant returned with Sulut's severed head, Tendr received it with shocked apprehension and instinctively kissed its dead lips, for the visage looked strikingly like that of the brother she loved. Indeed, there was never any way of knowing whether Ilut or Sulut had been slain, for the surviving twin from that time on never spoke or uttered a song. That's the end of this. I just read you the end of the little story. Very interesting there. I'll have to read that whole story. Here we have Fortuna. This is versatile, curious, clever, lighthearted. She could be a performer or an actor. Could be fickle and flighty in terms of thinking about air. Try to grab her, it says, and she'll slip through your fingers. Here we have Allegra. This is the youngest of the Heart family. She's embodies youthful enthusiasm, passionate, romantic, young at heart, vulnerable, impulsive, emotional. And then we have Terene here as a serving girl almost. Reflect on the fact that Morgana is the queen that she must answer to. Kind of the Cinderella. Earthy, grounded, serving, nurturing, practical, meek, and modest. Kind of think of her as Cinderella with her little squirrel, I guess. And then we have our jacks. And here we have Dango, who is dramatic. He's a showman. He's walking a tightrope. He's courageous. He performs well under pressure. We have Lancelot here. This is extraordinary and varied abilities, artistic, a wanderer, and a searcher. It says that in an enduring figure in the French playing card history, Lancelot's name appears as the Jack of Clubs in decks as early as the 15th century and as late as the mid-19th century. Because apparently legend has it that at the death of his mother, he was taken from his cradle to be raised in a land under waves by the Lady of the Lake, who gave him his magical powers and christened him Lancelot du Lac. When he emerges from the water 18 years later, he is reborn, no longer a man, but an extraordinary being. He encompasses both the male and the female, the rational mind from the conscious realm and the intuitive unconscious realm that he was raised in. And it provides a link between the clubs and the heart suit, which we can see on his chest there, where there is an image of a club with a heart over the top of it. So that's quite interesting. Combining rational with intuitive would be this meaning. And then here we have the Lahire, a popular personality from the 15th century, pronounced Laer, and was used for the Jack of Hearts in the French pack for over 3 centuries. Numerous accounts of his bold escapades are still in existence. He was a lover, a boyfriend, sly, untrustworthy, hidden, unpredictable. He had untrustworthy nature and a fear-provoking battle techniques. One-eyed jacks. In among the lords and ladies that ruled this curious pack, there's a one-eyed pair of brothers, both take the name of Jack. At a glance they seem dissimilar, like night opposing day. Each looks his own direction, sees the world in his own way. What's misleading, each loves separate and serves a different queen, but unless they're viewed together, leaves a half a man unseen. That's quite interesting. Here we have finally our number 11, our Jack of Spades, and here we have Pampero, fierce and predictable as the howling Pampero wins from which he gained his name. Reliable, loyal, disciplined, predictable. Something is missing. He can be very physically strong because this is of Earth. That brings us to our queens. Look at her. Here are our queens. These are the mature women of the deck. Here we have Livia in the diamonds, honest, trustworthy, wealthy, charitable, hospitable, maternal, receptive. We have the kind of cup in her hands to give that receptive energy, I suppose. We have Leah. She is that intuitive, imaginative. We have the moon that's here. Her powers, because her domain is the black suit, her powers are symbolic of night energy. Unlike the other queen of night, Morgana, whose earthy nature controls the denser kingdoms, Leah rules the lighter side of night, the dreaming, the mystery, and the knowing of the unconscious mind. A dreamer, imaginative, intuitive. It can be delusional. You know, the moon can go that way as well. Of course, an older woman. They all can be that. Here we have Deja. Has a softness that is her strength, emotionally mature, sensitive, empathic, penetrating, focused, a wife of long standing. She is the most useful of all the other queens, but she has, again, a very strength in softness feel. And then we have poor Morgana, who is much maligned a lot, but she's also very strong. She's had to learn how to stand alone and even recognize that. She's alone, she's strong, she's independent, she can be discontent, she can be secretive. She can also be a menopausal female. Oh dear. Oh dear me. Here we then move on to the kings. And we have King Leo here. He's actually connected to the suit of spades, which we can see on his arm. It's an association often demonstrated by diamond cards, but probably symbolized the most by him. Strength of character and a strong rulership on earth. So we have earth and the fire kind of together. Authoritative, powerful, man of finances, courageous, but he can have a secret life because, again, he is connected with the spades. Are those kind of, you have to look closely to make sure they're not clubs. Here we have Soul. This is the thinking. You can see the book. He's got the quill in his hand. Knowledgeable, logical thinker rather than a doer, a writer, living in your head, that kind of thing, analytical. And then we have the big-hearted man, the good king Nicomaya. King of merriment and sentimentality, right? Whereas the queen is empathetic, he is sympathetic, dispensing his wealth even to the point of a fault. Big-hearted, generous, sentimental, musical, can be in excess of food and drink. And then we have Marduk here, who assumes the role of the conqueror, the terminator, the ruler, stubborn. He can be cold. He's one who terminates. He's also a wanderer without a permanent home. Definitely poor spades. So there we have all the cards. I think this is quite fascinating. I think it's really cool. So let's see how this shuffles. Let me zoom back out here. Now the guidebook at this point does go on to recognize that you may not be using this particular deck. You can use just a regular deck of playing cards. And so, but she does talk about the understanding that what you're doing is, you're using this for divination, and so that you should have a deck that's set aside for that purpose, like I have here. I have many, many decks, and I actually have a couple set aside for divination. This is obviously mine. And so the tens of the suit would simply become the princesses here. But the point, and you just can't compare these gorgeous cards in terms of stock to this one, but I will be fair. But the point is that you can just get the guidebook, which is only $6.90, and a regular deck of cards, and maybe even write the title on the cards themselves. And then you would have access to this even with a deck of playing cards there. So the things that she's talked about can apply to regular playing card divination, but these are just obviously suited for it because we have the pictorials, making it an oracle that is, visual as well as numerical. Okay, now I'm not going to go in too much to reading these cards in this video because there is another very important factor that gets brought up in this particular book, and that is actually more exciting to me than these particular cards, even though I do like these cards. And that is the idea of geomancy. And I'm not going to go into that because I'm going to do the second video with reading. I'm going to show, I bought the, or I've been really reading more about geomancy. I got quite drawn into this idea of geomancy. I have done I Ching for a long time, and this is similar in a way, but there's something about geomancy that as soon as I read her section, I thought, is this like really something there, or is she just pulling, bits? So I went to do some of my own research, actually got a couple other books, and absolutely, it's just instant resonation. And have been doing a lot of studying today and yesterday, and a lot of condensing information into my divination book. And let's see. So I've been putting a lot of information into my divination book about geomancy and making us a perfect sheet for it, as well as testing it on some people. And it has been, I'm just in love with it. And so I'm going to show you that in another video. But just to wrap this up, she ends her main spreads are based off of a 4-card spread, and that is because of the geomancy factor of this particular deck. And again, I will be going into that and showing you with this card, as well as some regular playing cards, as well as Lenormand, and well as tarot. But for now, I'll just say that it's important to have a 4-card spread for this deck and for geomancy. But in a nutshell, she shows 2 ways of getting to a 4-card spread. And so her 4-card spreads are based off of let me get a 4-card out first, and then I'll explain it to you. So she shows 2 ways. Number 1 is just your normal way. You're going to split your deck, split the deck however you normally would, and then do 4 cards. Now, she has you do them like this. I cannot. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I really don't like skinny, just spreads like this. It just doesn't work for me. So I will go this way no matter what, but I'll show you this way. So it has to do with the head, which in this oracle deck is to do with fire and passion. The throat, which is to do with air and communication. The torso, the body, which is to do with, it's actually the torso versus, I guess, body makes it sound like earth, but it's the torso area, has to do with water or heart, so the emotions, that's where your heart is, that's where your sex organs are, that kind of thing. And then we have at the feet, this is where the earth is. Your feet are in the ground. This is where the earth is, to do with earthly matters. So we have, just in terms of suits, you would then have actually opposite. You would have diamonds are for the head. You have clubs are for the throat. You have hearts for the torso, and then you have spades, like shovels digging into the earth, for the feet. So I would still, even though I'm doing head, and actually I would do it opposite because of geomancy, but basically you want a 4-card for head. And this is also an element, basically it's an elemental suit where you would have fire and air and water and earth here. So she has you do it this way. If you want the element of some time, she shows one other way of getting a 4-card spread, which I will show you. You shuffle, and then either your querent or for yourself, you would split the deck in two, turn over the card on the split, then place the deck back into where it was, and then you're going to do piles of 4 until you get to your card that's flipped over. Whoops. And then you have that out, and this gives you timing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are piles of 4. So this is 52 cards, 52 weeks. 4 weeks is a month, and so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half, because there's 2 weeks here, months, and then you go right into the rest of your 4 cards that actually become the reading. And so you have done a timing factor. The issue that I have with this is that once you know this, you know, you're going to subconsciously split for shorter or longer time, and I don't use that precise of timing anyway, so that's not something that I probably would be using. I'll just be splitting normally, but that is the other way that she goes ahead and splits. And then it gets into some geomancy, which we are going to but you can just stop right there and just read your cards, and or just read any kind. You know, you could put out a 9 card. Oops, I went to go 4. So you could put out a 9 card just like with Lenormand. Just like with playing cards, and you could read your thing here. We would have the east wind here, and you need to look that up, and you could go ahead and do your 9 cards, any kind of reading that you're going to do. But the other aspect of this card is its connection with geomancy, which again, you can see part 2 to see that. This was just intended to give you a look at the cards themselves. So this has been a look at the Playing Card Oracles Divination deck by Anna Cortez and C.J. Freeman, as well as the guidebook I have in PDF form by the same name. And so see part 2 if you really want to get into the fun, exciting stuff.